And I realize like people don't expect that, especially from lawyers.
Right.
Okay. They don't expect that. But that actually comes through in how you deal with people and what you do. How much of that do you try to bring to your management of your business?
All of it. Kristen and I joke around a lot and we say, just be a person. It's a pretty baseline requirement, right?
It was discussed to be a core value at one point.
Was it really?
Yes.
I love that one. That's a great one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sounds of Health. I'm really excited to have our guests here today. We have Kristen Wolf and Shari Shore, attorneys from the Wolf & Shore Law Group, an all-female legal practice offering comprehensive family law, juvenile law, and family-related probate matter legal services. We're excited to have them both here today to talk to you, our audience. I'm your host, Dave McNiven, and if you're here for Shari and Kristen, please be sure to like and subscribe to Sounds of Health, where every week we uncover inspiring stories, highlight incredible people, and share valuable resources to help you boost your physical, emotional, and financial well-being. Kristen and Shari, welcome to Sounds of Health.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, we're happy to have you here today. I know this has been a long time coming, so I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your journey in creating your law group and kind of how you started out. So why don't we start there? Do each of you want to take a turn just kind of talking about what your background is, where you're from, and what put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Sure. Yes, sir.
And you're going to want to get close to the microphone when you talk.
Sure. So I'm originally from Stafford Springs, Connecticut. I went to college and had no idea what I was going to do with my life, and ended up with a finance degree and a minor in communications and decided I would go to law school. And then after 3 years of law school, it was 2009 when I was graduating and there was a recession, and a friend of mine from law school had said, hey, what do we have to lose? Do you want to start a law firm? I have another person that I would like to start a law firm with. And I met Shari the day that we signed our first contract to become a firm.
That's amazing.
True story.
Yes. At Shari's house for the first time.
So you had another partner involved, though, that connected the two of you?
At first,
okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
We had subsequently closed that firm down, and Shari and I branched off together. And in 2012, we started Wolf & Shore Law Group, and we've kind of hit the ground running from there.
Amazing. What school did you go to?
I went to UConn for undergrad and Quinnipiac for law school.
Fantastic.
And so I grew up in West Haven, and I went to college at University of Rochester, and I was adamant for my entire life that I was going to be a pediatrician. So I was a molecular genetics major.
Oh, wow.
For like a month. And I learned very quickly that I was spending all of my time focusing on mock trial and debate. And I called my parents one day and said, I'm not going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer. So I ended up graduating with a creative writing degree of all things and went to law school at Albany Law. And I moved home. I was home for about a year. And Kristen told the story about how we met. And it's been great ever since.
So what was your undergrad?
So undergrad was University of Rochester.
Okay. And so let me see if I can follow this. Studying to be a doctor first.
Yep.
And then realized you were in some type of a mock trial class that kind of sparked your interest?
Yeah, it was like a mock trial club, which I'd been really into in high school. And I'm so nerdy that I actually made the varsity mock trial team in college.
That doesn't surprise me knowing you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's meant to be. So.
That's awesome. And then you ended up with a degree in creative writing?
I did. Yes.
Now, do you do any creative writing now?
Not as much as I would like. I used to do that for fun, but that kind of goes on the back burner now.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is you can have whatever degree you want and go to law school.
Absolutely. I guess that's the lesson. How did your parents take it when you said, hey, I don't want to be a doctor, but I want to be a lawyer?
They told me to come home.
Okay. Okay.
They were not thrilled. That has obviously since changed, but I'm sure that was not a great phone call to get from your 18-year-old that you just dropped off at school.
Yeah, probably not.
Right.
See, my parents were much more prepared for the fact that I wanted to be an actor because I went to school to be a writer. So it wasn't, it's not too much of a difference.
Right.
Yeah, something creative.
I had wanted to, actually, there was an internship at ESPN that required a law degree, which was really why I had gone to law school in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I had played sports growing up. I was always watching sports. I was really into it. And so I had really wanted to. And from 2006 to 2009, there were no more internships to be had.
Oh, wow.
The whole country was in a hiring freeze. So we figured, hey, you know what? Maybe we can get to that point in the future. But here we are, and we've done this instead, and it's really worked out for us.
That's great. I love hearing the long and winding path that people have to doing what they're doing and how many twists and turns there are to it.
Yeah,
You don't really need to go to college knowing what you want to do for the rest of your life.
No, definitely not.
In fact, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, right. You got to be
18,
open
you don't
to
have
the
to plan.
possibilities.
Right. You don't have to plan your whole life out.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you end up in the specialty that you guys are in now? Like, what made you decide to go in that direction?
So when we opened our first firm, we kind of figured we would take everything that came through the door because you need to. You have to keep the lights on.
So general practice?
Yep.
Okay.
We did everything. Literally, the first file I ever touched was a veterinary malpractice case. I think the first case we signed as a firm was a criminal matter it involved an animal and a civil thing. Very complicated. We decided we kind of hated those things. But again, it wasn't a great financial time for people, right? This is 2009, and we realized that no matter how bad the economy is, people still need to get divorced.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
And it's probably an increase. And all of the other matters that we do are kind of related to stressors in life, right? So juvenile law involving DCF, probate matters that include guardianship and termination of parental rights. So it just really evolved. And at a certain point, we got busy with that stuff. We learned we liked it, and we let go of the other practice areas so that we could be better family law attorneys.
I think also, though, too, when we both were in law school, we had sworn off family law, both said we were never going to do it. But I think once we got into it, we realized that there's a very human approach to it, too, and it made us feel a little bit less robotic as we're going through the practice of law, and more that we can kind of relate to our clients and we can talk to them on an emotional level in addition to providing legal advice. And so I think that was something that was appealing as well.
What was the hesitation originally? What did you think about it that wanted to keep you away from it?
You hear horror stories all the time, number one, but also, I mean, you're dealing with people at their worst emotionally a lot of times.
Right.
And it just tends to be a very stressful environment. And we just weren't sure that we wanted, as young individuals, that we wanted to be involved in that and to be trying to guide people through that. But then we fell into it, and we've really kind of been able to capitalize on our abilities to talk to people as human beings going through that and recognizing that they are going through a tough time. And so, they need us to help guide their way through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is where the connection comes into what we do here with Sounds of Health, because a few people have asked me when I told them you were coming on the show, well, why are you having attorneys on a health and wellness podcast? This is exactly the reason why. I think one of the things we want to do is highlight the resources that people need when they need things, when they're in crisis. And going through a family matter or a divorce, it is such a high stress moment for people. There's a way to do it better and a way to kind of lose yourself in it, right? I'm sure you guys see the whole spectrum of that.
We do.
Yeah, we do. And we tell people all the time, like, look, you've hired us because it's really hard for you to see what's going on and your pathways forward while also dealing with all of the emotions that are in your head, whether it's anger, love, hatred,
Right.
frustration, confusion, anxiety, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
There is going to be some element of that. There's nobody that goes through a divorce and is perfectly calm. It could also just be financially related as well. Like, okay, we have two incomes or one income, but providing for one household. And now that exact same amount of money has to go and figure out how to be divided to support two households. And it's stressful. And so we recognize that and we understand that. And if you think about it, when you're stressed out or you're having a hard time, it's really difficult to navigate the path forward clearly and intentionally. So we try to tell people, like, we understand that that's how you feel, but these are the options. These are like what you have, and you have to make that decision.
Right. Are there times when you feel like a therapist or a social worker?
All the time.
Yeah.
A psychology degree would be a good one to go to law school with,
Well,
or any area of law, I think.
You're learning on the job, though, right?
Yes, we've read the DSM a couple times.
Now, how about with kind of creating the law group? So you have the specialty that you went into, and it sounds like it all happened organically, that you were open to everything, and then something brought you to this path. What is it like being a business owner on top of all of that? And how have you grown your practice?
So I think in the beginning we were probably a little scared. And I say a little because we were just young and didn't know what we didn't know. And that's what we tell everyone. We really needed to spend the first few years of our practice learning to practice law, making connections with our colleagues, figuring out who we were as lawyers, what our style was going to be, what we were good at. Once that came, that's when we realized we were going to be able to expand. Yeah. And we've been very fortunate, especially in the last few years, of hiring really wonderful people. We have 2 amazing associates now who handle a lot of our court work, and that has allowed Kristen and me to work on the business, which we've wanted to do for so long. We get to do great things like this, and we get to be involved in other things in our community, which is really helpful for a lot of reasons. And when we do get to spend time with our clients, it's on things that are beneficial to the clients. We get to talk to them about why they should or should not go to a trial, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just been a really great experience, I think, the last 2 years focusing on the business now.
And I think it's funny, the progression of it. And one thing that Shari and I, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we were really good at listening and relying on others for help. We would ask for help when not that we were asking for help all the time. We would try to figure it out on our own. Yeah. But we also had a lot of really great mentors along the way that we did rely on heavily. And I'll never forget the time when we really started to get busy and gaining the clientele. And one of our mentors had said, you really need to stop doing everything. You can't do everything anymore. And it took us a little while to buy into that. But once we did, it was for the best and kind of brought us to here.
Yeah, you can't grow without that.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's like the hardest thing for a business owner to realize is that you can't do it all yourself.
Right.
And you need to delegate and you need to trust other people.
Right.
So, in our industry as well as yours, we're dealing with a lot of sensitive information, and we're dealing with people. We're dealing with, relationships. And so that must be kind of hard to bring people on. Is there something that you kind of put into developing the culture of your practice? Because I find that that's really important so that you can trust people if you've already identified the fact that they're a fit for what you're doing.
It's probably the most important thing that we have in our hiring process. We go through several different interviews with potential candidates, and we make sure that not only are they going to be the right fit for the job intellectually and that they're motivated to do that particular job, but also that they would fit in with the culture of our office. Because Shari and I have spent a lot of time, pretty much our entire careers, making the culture of our office what it is so that we can embody that to all of our clients. So we've gone through a couple different phases of what that looks like, but now it's really just Shari and I kind of meeting with people right off the bat, trying to get a feel for them. And then potentially sometimes we even have some of our office staff come and sit down and have a lunch before we hire anybody.
Right. And then, one of the things we've been able to do while building the business side of it is we learned that we needed core values. And we know that they're not supposed to be aspirational. So we looked at where are we? What is the culture we want? What is it that we have? And once we formed those core values, and they've morphed over time too, probably over the last 4 years or so.
Months.
Right, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, they've changed recently?
They did, yeah. And we like that. Like, it's a very positive thing.
Of course.
But now when we interview people, we go through the core values. And it does help. And I think anyone in our office would say that, it's as fun as a law firm could be, I think. But we all get along really well, and I think everyone in there knows how to relate to our clients. It's very important that our clients feel heard.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're a little bit different than a lot of law offices in that we all work remotely. And that works for a lot of us for varying different reasons, but a lot of our employees, and Shari and I, are parents. And so working from home provides, I would say, a luxury, to be honest, of the ability to, throw a load of laundry in but still work.
Absolutely.
Get your kids off the bus if you need to, and those kinds of things. And I know that that's a real benefit to a lot of our staff. It also comes with the detriment of not being in person and relating to one another, the talking to each other. in person every day. So what Shari and I have done is every month we do some kind of a fun event together, and it's mandatory for our staff to go. And when I say mandatory, it's really like we've gone to lake compounds with the kids. We've gone to a Yard Goats game. We do all kinds of different things. Sometimes we'll have a spa day. So it's not like it's a chore for...
No, you have to come and have fun with us.
Exactly.
Right.
You have to come, and we have to relate on a human being level, and we can talk about work, and we can talk about other things if we want, but that way we can all bond outside of the office as well.
I think that's great and so important. Shari and I, we're part of EO together, so we've talked on this podcast a lot about the Entrepreneurs Organization.
Okay.
And one of the things that I learned, my first learning day was developing core values. So it's something I put a lot of thought and effort into. And I use those not only to guide kind of what my decisions are for the business, but also to identify people that I want to work with. And Jason actually reached out to me, I think it was last week, and he was looking at the core values online, not being prompted by me. And he texted me and said, hey, what do you think about adding gratitude into our core values somewhere? And I'm like, that's a fantastic idea.
Love that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
And I think that's an important thing.
I have good ideas every now and then.
Every now and then. Yeah. I don't want to tell them that too much.
I think the important thing with core values is that they have to kind of be ever evolving. They have to change with you. Also, I think when we first started thinking of them, we were we were way too broad. And over time, we've kind of consolidated them and made them more specific so that we can kind of really get to what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. It's an evolution, right?
Correct.
So we're always developing and evolving our business and who we are, and those core values need to move with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys have a lot on your plate, and you talked a little bit about the balance between having a law firm and then also having a family. How challenging is that? I know you're remote, but you're also doing so much. Tell me a little bit about how you find that balance between personal and professional.
So I think we are still learning is the honest answer. But like Kristen said, working remote is very helpful. And the fact that I don't necessarily need to be in court 9 to 5 anymore. Yeah. So a lot of times I work from 6 a.m. to 7:30, and then I drive my son to school. And then, I need a little bit of time to get back home, and maybe I have to cut out at 4 o'clock because he has a sport that day, but I can sign back on at 8 or 9 o'clock and wrap up what I have to do. And I did have to learn over the years that it can't be all work all the time.
Yeah.
And it's an adjustment, but I think, every year I would say my work-life balance gets a little bit better.
Shari and I really had, when we first started, we both knew that we were likely going to have families. And so we worked around the clock. We were out networking every single night. We were out probably Monday through Saturday, most nights until like 10, 11 o'clock at night, networking, doing things, trying to get our names out there, and trying to do it then before we knew that we had all of the responsibilities that we were going to have that comes with having a family, which paid off for us. I mean, we still had to do it once we had families, but now, like, as time has progressed and we've been in business together for 16 years, it's finally allowing us to have a little bit of time to kind of go and spend time with our kids. But what Shari and I also say is, as a business owner, you're always a business owner. So spending time with your kids and sitting on the sidelines of a sports event could also be what now I consider to be a networking opportunity rather than going to a bar association event.
Yeah, that's very true. Because you're always talking to people and they're asking you what you do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you do get to know people as well. Like we talked about trust before, and I think our clients ultimately hire us because they trust us. Yes. And sometimes that comes from building a relationship first. Absolutely.
I think that's really crucial to developing anything, really, relationships in business and all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So you guys have a lot on your plate. And one of the things that I think I always admired about you, Shari, was when we were in BNI together. I think the first time that I saw you do your presentation, there was so much humor. And I was like, she's actually the best one in the room right now.
Oh, thanks.
and I realized, like, people don't expect that, especially from lawyers.
Right.
Okay. They don't expect that. But that actually comes through in how you deal with people and what you do. How much of that do you try to bring to your management of your business?
All of it. Kristen and I joke around a lot and we say, just be a person. It's a pretty baseline requirement, right?
It was discussed to be a core value at one point.
Was it really?
Yes.
I love that one. That's a great one.
It is. And now our staff throws that back at us if we, maybe veer off of that a little bit. But we try to keep everything light. And even when we're consulting with potential clients, I try to use more casual language. I think it's more relatable. We are clearly not the attorneys who come in a full suit and, the whole nine. That's not us.
Okay.
But we like that. And that's kind of what we have evolved to over the years.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other piece of that is too, it's actually been the evolution. We don't even try to use it anymore. It's just that's how we talk to our clients. We talk to them on a real level because that's how they're going to understand it. If I start throwing legal jargon at them, they're just going to sit there, and stare at me and not understand anything and not get anything out of that conversation.
Right.
And it's a waste of their time and not really good practice. So, and especially in family law, you have to really relate on a real level. And we tell people all the time, like, look, we get this from a family law perspective as attorneys, but also we're parents and wives at the same time. So we've got the other end of that where we understand where you're coming from. We're moms. So we get it. We've got kids.
Yeah. The other side of that is you guys deal with a lot of really difficult topics. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of people that are in this crisis mode. And I'm guessing that you've seen quite a bit that is on the negative side of life. How do you filter that? How do you deal with that? How do you protect it from affecting you personally and your own family life?
I think that's tricky.
Yeah.
Again, we've gotten great at it over the years, but we have to compartmentalize, and we will discuss things with each other probably ad nauseum. But we need to leave it at the office, so to speak, when our workday ends.
Yeah.
And I think, because of that, we each have different interests, but we do things outside of the office because we need that time to kind of clear our mind and take care of ourselves.
I don't think there's a really good answer to that other than Shari and I talk all the time and we call each other our work wives, work husband, because it's true. But I think the ability for us to just kind of vent to each other allows for us to get it out before we go home. And then we can then it's done and our work day is done. And at a certain point, it is hard because you're dealing with people's lives and you're dealing with other people's lives. But you have to, this is our job at the end of the day, and we have to then go and live our lives too. So, I think it's really the ability for Shari and I to just lay it on each other and then be done.
Yeah. You're lucky to have each other in that
Exactly.
way.
We are.
Yeah. I'm the son of two social workers. So both of them, my whole life, I could see how sometimes what they were dealing with at work would affect them and how difficult that can be. And I'm the same way. Like, I feel like in our core values for the agency, there's one that's called active empathy, practice active empathy. And the idea in my mind behind that is not only do you need to meet people where they are and be open to what they're going through, but you need to protect yourself from how it affects you.
I love that.
And you need to work that out for yourself, because if you don't, then you're just going to let that affect you, and you don't know how that's going to pop up later on, and affect you in a negative way.
Honestly, I think that's one of the great things of our firm is that Shari and I have that relationship where there's been times where I'm like, I can't take this case. I just can't for one reason or another. And she'll jump in and do it and vice versa. And we've both been able to kind of just, even if we don't want to, that's our job as partners and business owners together. We're in this together. So we've got to be able to kind of, fill in for each other when we can't, when the other one is not feeling up to speed on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Now, when should people be looking for you and reaching out? Like, if you had an ideal of when you want to hear from a client, I know once they're in crisis, they're obviously doing that, but do you have any advice for people of when they should be talking to you?
Every situation's different.
Yeah.
Look, in a perfect world, we would be able to lay out a roadmap for them before they get into it. But even then, maybe that wouldn't even be the best case scenario because then the roadmap might be different once they get into it. And so then it might lead to false expectations. So it's really, I guess my answer would be whenever they're ready, because if they're not ready, then it's going to be really difficult for them to follow anything that we're saying or take what we're saying in and actually absorb it and maybe want to use it to their advantage. So because a lot of times people will come to us and they're, oh, well, I'm not sure. And we'll tell people during a consult, look, it doesn't sound like you're ready. So I don't want to sit here and make you go forward with this if you're not ready. Come back to us when you're ready, and then we can talk it through. But right now, you've got a lot of other things that I think you've got to figure out first before you can come back. And that's where we get into the human aspect of things, because you have to be able to be in a position mentally to absorb the information that we're offering.
I would definitely agree with that. And I think because of that, there's sometimes that we consult with someone, they're not ready, that's fine. And then 2 or 3 years later, they come back and they do want to move forward. And we're happy to help at any point. I think the general piece of advice I give is at least talk to us before you file on your own, just so we could discuss the broad issues and at least try to set them on the right path. What they decide to do from there is fine, but we want to be able to help as proactively as we can.
Gotcha. So there's no hesitation for people to reach out and ask a question to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
We're happy to set up a time to meet. And especially if you've consulted with us before, if it's just a follow-up question, send us an email. We're happy to send a response back. But we need to make sure that you're ready to, because at the end of the day, you're never going to be happy if you're not ready to move forward. And we don't want to be the ones being, pushing you to move forward.
Of course,
that's not our job either.
Right.
If you can save your marriage or save your custody or whatever the case may be, then by all means, please go for it. Do everything you've got to do. Leave it all on the table and then come to us,
And can you just describe the areas that you practice in as well? I mean, it's divorce, but there's family law. What does that entail?
So family law can entail anything from divorce, custody, child support, grandparents' rights, any of that, anything that falls under that umbrella. We also practice in juvenile law, which is DCF cases, so DCF investigations. If there was an investigation and there's a substantiation of neglect, we can do appeals for that. And we also represent people if they're going through like a neglect proceeding in the juvenile court.
Okay.
And then I think you had mentioned in the beginning, family law matters in probate court, which is largely guardianship matters, termination of parental rights, those kinds of things that oftentimes they're family members that are coming in and trying to assist another family member, but not always. In that also has a DCF aspect to it as well. We also do like prenuptial agreements and postnuptial agreements, anything that really kind of falls under that family umbrella, but not to include probate in the sense of like wills and administration of wills and those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
Right. So I always tell everyone we do the fun things. And I was trying to go through the list as Kristen was saying it. And the only one I could think of maybe is restraining orders. So those are the most fun, sarcastically. But it goes back to what we were talking about helping people. And that's a situation where people truly need help. And we do actually have different approaches depending on the type of matter. So everyone thinks lawyers, we have to litigate and go to court. And that's not always true. It certainly happens often. It doesn't need to be that way. We also negotiate outside of court, especially if there's an attorney on the other side. But Kristen and I are both certified in mediation, and Kristen is also certified in collaborative divorce. So those are other approaches that may be a better fit for someone.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah.
So it's not just one thing.
Right. And when we're in a consult, a lot of times we'll talk about the different options and kind of assess and make recommendation as to what we think is the best approach for that given scenario. Sometimes I'll say, look, I know you want to do this, in the least amicable way, or in the most amicable way, sorry.
Some people might want to do it in the least amicable.
Many people, but some, and look, I think it's great if you can do collaborative, but there's times when I'll tell people, based on what you're telling me, I'm not so sure that that's the way that's going to actually be helpful for you. And here's why. You make your decision, but this is my legal opinion on that. And we'll kind of guide people through that. And same with mediation as well. Some people are a good fit for it. Some people aren't.
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Right.
And everybody's situation is different.
Correct.
Yeah.
And everybody's ability to come to the table, I think that really makes a big difference. Whether or not you're going to be able to come to the table and negotiate, some people can, and some people need to have it go through their attorney and go through the courts, and that's okay too. That there's a reason. It doesn't necessarily have to be litigious just because it's in court. It can be amicable, so to speak, but
yeah, it's just a process that needs to happen, so it can be amicable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. What are the biggest challenges in running the business? I know you guys have done some kind of promotion on social media. The videos, Kristen, that you do are fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, what are some of the challenges and how do you kind of handle those?
I think one of the biggest challenges is we deal with people when they are experiencing difficult times. Sometimes it's the worst time in their life. And even if we're doing everything we can, they may not be happy. Because sometimes we have to tell people, but you're not going to keep all of your retirement, right? Or things like that. And so sometimes people are frustrated with us, and that is difficult to deal with. And we have to separate that out and know the difference between, things we maybe had control of versus we're just telling them the truth and they don't want to hear it at that point in time, right? So I think that's a big struggle. That's probably the biggest one for us right now, I think.
I think it's also just an ever-changing industry in terms of not just the law, but the clientele, and then also social media and the way that it's presented. And so as business owners, we're just always trying to keep up with the way that we're going to be populating so that we can kind of get ourselves out there still and keep up with the new and the cool things to do.
Right, yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah, staying relevant in people's eyes and making sure they know who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so we lean on people that know what they're talking about because Shari and I don't have time to figure that out.
of course. Yeah, it's important to have those folks.
Yes.
Yeah. And then do you have any goals for the business? Like, are there things that you want to accomplish?
Yes.
I think we have a lot that we want to accomplish. Eventually, we do want to have more associates. We don't want to ever have a huge firm, but I think a couple more.
Yeah.
We definitely want to stay focused on family law. But we are also in a spot right now where we've had this opportunity to kind of mentor and teach these associates, and we really love that. And, it'll be exciting to do that again a few more times.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be noted that our associates have each been with us for 4 years now?
I think so, yeah.
So they both worked for us during law school. We've been able to literally teach them how to become attorneys and how to become family attorneys and how to and then allow them to kind of go out on their own. And they're both doing really, really well at this point in time. So when we say we've really enjoyed it, it's true. It's been an investment in both their futures and ours. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's one of the most fun things I find about being a business owner is investing in other people and seeing how they grow.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. Well, this conversation has been eye-opening for me, and I hope it has been for our audience as well. So thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing your journey and your story and all of the things that you do that I think is really important that people are aware that there are resources out there when you're going through crisis. And if you're dealing with one of these really hard things, it's a matter of finding the right fit for you. Finding an attorney who really fits and you feel comfortable with is probably really important.
Absolutely. We have thick skin at this point in time.
I bet.
And we understand that there's some people that we might just not jive with, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so they should go to somebody else that they do get along with better and they can relate to, and that's okay. We understand. We're not for everybody. We try to be.
And so the last question that I have for you is every episode we ask our guest to leave our audience with a health hack. So this is something that you practice in your daily life that helps you to improve your health. And it could be your physical health, your emotional health, or your financial health. So can both of you share one each for our audience?
I mean, I think Shari and I both have said to each other, we have really made an effort in our recent years to carve out time to exercise because it makes us better people. And that's the whole being a person thing.
Right.
But it makes us, physically fit, able to keep up with our kids and able to kind of feel confident in ourselves moving forward too.
Mm-hmm. And I think my sanity is a huge part of that. And in order to start myself off on the right foot on any given day, I need to prepare the night before. So the night before, I will look at my calendar, I will see what's going on, and I lay everything out for the next day. So I know what my top 3 priorities are. I have my water bottle filled. I have my coffee cup ready to go. And I don't want to worry about it in the morning. And
that's where we're different.
Yeah.
We're so
I'm like,
different
this
here.
makes total sense.
Right?
But wow, yeah.
You're not surprised.
Not surprised at all.
But
no.
I need that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was a game changer when I started doing it.
Yeah.
This is why Shari and I have gotten along for so long because Shari likes to do those things and
Yeah.
I don't. And I'm okay with her doing it. And she can even maybe make a water bottle for me, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, me too, actually.
And I would. She knows that I bring a bag of snacks when we travel. She doesn't have to worry about it.
That's fantastic.
And they're great snacks too.
Now, the exercise every day that you were talking about, what do you do?
I've been following a workout program that I found, I think, for 5 years now. I work out at home. That I have it's actually my home office / exercise room, and it's really just lifting weights and doing those. I hate cardio, and I feel like I've got 3 boys, so I run around after them enough. That's my cardio, and I'll just lift weights and maybe be able to keep up with them.
Yeah, I didn't realize how important weight training was until recently, because I hadn't been doing it for a long time, and I started to do it this year, and it's just made a huge difference.
It does.
I was focusing on cardio, and it made more sense doing the weight training.
Dave, that means you have to get the weights to put in the space in the office right now. You cleared out the chairs. Maybe grab a few free weights.
Yeah, well, maybe, I could bring my weighted vest. I could wear it on the podcast.
While you're doing the standing desk?
Yeah.
I do that during our firm meetings sometimes.
Do you really?
She actually does, and she has a walking pad.
And I have a walking pad.
Oh, nice.
That's my cardio, because I can do it while I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
But the weightlifting is really what I enjoy.
Yeah, during COVID, I got a high table that acts as a standing desk. So I stand when I work most times.
Oh, that is good.
I had moved
also.
into this new space and set everything up on the desk, and then realized, man, I'm sick of sitting so much. So I moved it back to the table.
Agree.
Yeah.
And as I get older, and I realize that I'm getting older from sitting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it does a number on your body.
It does.
Yeah, and I drive a lot for work too, because I'm meeting people all over the state, and that's not healthy either. You got to take those breaks.
Same. Yes.
Yeah. Well, those are great tips, great health hacks for the audience. So thank you both for sharing those. I need a little more guidance on yours, because
work on it.
Yeah. Right.
She'll create a list. We'll just that's the next thing, Sherry's list. And
my God, you really should do that. That should be a side gig.
I'm already excited about it.
Awesome. You can post it in our group. So.
Party planning, packing. She's got lists for packing. She's got lists for everything. It's
That's
great.
great. My wife is very similar to that. Yeah.
Love it.
It's so great. Well, again, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us on Sounds of Health. We really appreciate you, and we will definitely keep in touch and send people your way.
Thanks so much for having us.
Of course, absolutely. And that's a wrap on another episode of Sounds of Health, brought to you by Nutmeg Insurance Advisors and recorded at the offices of Nutmeg Advisory Group. I'm your host, Dave McNiven, and Sounds of Health is produced by Jason Carubia with music by Rob Hames. Every week, we bring you stories that inspire, empower, and help you to upgrade your health. If you enjoy the show, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave us a review. We love hearing from you, and we hope that you will continue as an important part of our wellness community. Thank you so much. See you next time.